So what I did is, without understanding how this was going to unfold, I created a little system of stories, putting her in the story as the hero because my husband is an illustrator. So we created books for her to teach her how to be courageous, how to talk, how to communicate, how to set boundaries, like all those things. And we would read them every night. And it was her in the book, so she would see herself as a protagonist, not like some random bunny or, a giraffe. Makes a difference, actually. There's a lot of research in that. So when we saw her move away from that fear and eventually becoming friends with that girl, and like moving on to be class president, she's mentoring other kids, she's a champion in dance, she's fine, right? Straight A student. Eventually I was like, I wonder if I can replicate this. And I wonder if we can build a system. And I wonder if we can put it in every class and give this opportunity to every child. And that's how it sort of like took off. For me, failure is not doing something or stopping halfway. So while I'm doing it, whatever hiccups in the process are lessons or milestones that you gotta go through, or learnings, or normal challenges that we all have. So I don't see failure like that. Again, maybe a little delusional. I never did. Maybe that helped a lot, because if you define failure as a no, or as someone criticizing you, or as your first ad not working, or your first prototype crashing, if you define failure like that, it's very hard to continue. I think it's self-doubt is everyone's. We all have it. Like there isn't a single there isn't a single person on this earth. Some share it, some don't. So ignore it. Make a conscious decision that you're going to ignore that part and just execute, go forward. Even if you're not sure about certain things, change your path later. Don't stay in the waiting place like Dr. Seuss says,
Maria Lavithi is the founder of an edtech platform focused on character education and student well-being, helping schools support the development of both academic and human skills in students. She also mentors startups in Cyprus and is passionate about supporting people who believe they can create meaningful change and approach the world through the lens of possibility. Maria?
Hello.
Welcome to the Future Makers podcast.
Thank you so much. It's my honor to be here.
It's my pleasure to have you. I've heard so many great things about you, and now I get to meet you in person. So I always ask my guests this question, and it comes from one of my favorite philosophers, Kierkegaard. Kierkegaard says we understand life. Oh gosh, I'm butchering it. We live life forward, but understand it backwards.
Yeah.
How does that apply to your life, especially looking at your early years? And how would you, interpret it in the way you're living life now?
Very interesting. Yeah, everything in hindsight, it makes sense. I guess so you can make it make sense.
Yeah.
Well, for me, if I were to tie that to what I'm doing right now, I am thinking that curiosity was like abundant in my life. I would question everything, right? That ties in with founding a company eventually. So looking back, even though sometimes it caused me trouble, being curious and always asking why and why not. And, ultimately, I remember thinking that everything on this earth is created by us, and therefore it can be improved by us. I never was comfortable when people said this is the way it is. You know, I was never, especially if it wasn't working. You know, if something is good, yeah, of course, it's the way it is. You don't mess with it. But if things didn't make sense, like small examples as well, like if you go to like customer service, there's nothing else. Of course, there's something you can do. You're a human and I'm a human and we're having a conversation. There's something that we can do. So I felt that curiosity, that constant questioning that I've had from a very young age, and thank God nobody stopped me and nobody tried to mold me too much, just guide me, you know, that ultimately makes so much sense to me now where I ended up, you know, and how I approach this process of entrepreneurship and building a company and try to make an impact and all that stuff. It's just always, we can do better, you know. We build systems, we improve systems. We have to.
So what was the script you were growing up with in that environment, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship? Was that ever on the table for you? And
No.
Does anybody ever encourage you to think about?
No. Actually, on the contrary, I am from, and I never felt any type of disadvantage. When I say this, I just want to make sure that it's understood. But I'm from the generation that was born after the war. You know, I never felt the impact myself so much, but I remember hearing stories, my family and my parents and all of that. But because that generation went through that, their primary concern about us was safety and security. So I grew up in an environment that was holding in high regards, you know, the traditional government jobs, structured jobs, just safety. So I was kind of like the wild card. And I kind of showed my true colors around 15 when I said, I think I'm going to travel. Then I'm going to say, they're like, where did that come from? You know, because I was very quiet. I was very sort of like always did, or I thought I did the right thing, you know, stayed within my lines. So no, I wasn't encouraged, but also I was never questioned or stopped from doing it. It was ultimately my decision. My family and the community at that time felt the need to put us into the safe mode. But I didn't feel any type of resistance when I decided to go out of that safe mode. I hope that makes sense.
No, it does. Was there a specific career your family encouraged you to do?
The career, it was, you can take a guess. It was either work for the government or go to the bank. You know, that was like the ultimate, option for my family. That was like, that's what you're going to do. I couldn't. First of all, like numbers, not my thing.
So that's the bank out of the question.
Yeah. Of course, there's a lot of positions in a bank. You don't have to do the numbers, right? But I couldn't. I felt that wasn't, that I would be sort of like killing my soul. Not that to say like everybody is supposed to do something and you know what the calling is. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing right. You just have to trace, true to yourself. That's the whole point, right? For me, that wasn't it. But yeah, that was it, like government or banks.
Can you tell me about the physical space that you were growing up in and how that you think affected the way you view life or, your own choices in those early years?
It was a normal home, middle class. I never felt that I couldn't have something, but I also felt that I had a ceiling, I couldn't ask for more than what I needed to get through, which is good because that's something I play with now with my own daughter. It's like, if we can do more and we do more, we're taking that away from the kids. We need to do enough to keep them safe and educated and, help them make the right choices, but we cannot hand them everything because then they never learned themselves, right? So I felt that was a really good balance. And it was a traditional Greek home. Everybody was there all the time. My grandparents lived next door, all of them. So it was a very hustle and bustle, like no personal space sometimes. When it comes to Cyprus, as I was saying before, it's like, I think it helps coming from, it doesn't matter really, but like for me what it did is that being born here And it's a fairly small island. And once you start looking for opportunity, you realize there's some limitations, especially back then. Now it's a whole different picture. And then going to the United States at 18 and being able to compare the two allows you to sort of have that span in your head, like you understand, you're grateful for that versus, taking for granted certain things. So I think that leap for me, coming from small, going to big, understanding how much there is, how much opportunity, I think that was incredible. Yeah, it did shape me.
Who were the women you were seeing in your life in those early years that you were seeing as mentors, as models of womanhood?
When I was young?
Yeah, when you were young.
I cannot say for sure. Of course, every little girl admires their mother.
Yeah.
My mother was a stay-at-home mom. She took care of everybody, the grandparents, us, cousins, So I always like how she kept all of that together and running. But it doesn't necessarily sort of translate to what I end up doing now, right? I don't remember I remember reading a lot of books and just admiring writers. I can't think of anyone specific, just like, oh, wow, someone thought of all of this and put all of this down. And ultimately, that's what I studied, creative writing, even though it's, I've been all over the place since then. But I cannot think of a particular woman per se, and I don't know if that sounds bad, or a man, But here, I believe, and hence the name of the company, Heroes Made, that we are our own hero. So I've always sort of saw, not myself as the hero, it sounds kind of weird. That wasn't a word that I was using back then. But I felt that by placing our admiration externally in that traditional sense, sometimes it can hold us back because we feel like, we don't compare, right? So I never really had that. Now I admire or sort of study. I study. I look into women that have moved beyond where I am to understand how they did it, But I think everybody's their own hero. Everybody's fighting their own battle. Everybody comes with their own story.
Yeah.
And we need to honor that. Yeah.
I like that. I feel like when we do try to externalize this or try to pursue a hero in somebody else and try to model that, we sometimes forget that other person is human. And so when their faults come out, we go through this process of mourning almost.
Exactly.
And I feel I like that putting ourselves into that hero's position, it gives us that opportunity to, work with our flaws, work with the challenges and, give ourselves, a break sometimes when we do fail or, and celebrate ourselves when we do succeed because we know exactly what we are going through. And
there's a lot we don't know about the people that we might admire. And there is a lot that we should know that we don't know, even greater things maybe they have achieved that they don't share. So I think we should sort of turn that attention to ourselves, not in an egotistical way, but that's energy we can use to move forward instead of just dispel on someone else and just keep it there,
Yeah, exactly. I want to go back to that point where, you left Cyprus to pursue your education in the U.S.
Yeah.
What prompted that decision? Because it's not an easy decision and it takes a lot of bravery.
It sounds crazy. Thinking how I did it, first of all, you have to understand, my family never traveled. We never left Nicosia for that matter, right?
Oh my gosh.
So
you've never even seen the airport.
Exactly. So getting on a plane to go all the way. And the funny thing is that I went to Colorado, but I didn't go to Denver, Colorado, which is a proper city. I went to Pueblo, Colorado, which is just 3 buildings, a few scorpions, and a few cacti. So that was a major shock. Okay, so that span that I said didn't happen instantly. I had to travel the U.S. to get that. But I don't know. I feel like it was an external force that was pushing me that direction. There's a lot of crazy stories. I don't know if I should share them here today.
I mean,
but you know, a lot of things were sort of like, I remember like this woman when I was younger. She was sort of like a friend of. She was not from here, but she saw me at a family gathering and she grabbed me and then she says, you know, you will not marry here. You will marry a far, far away land and, you know, your parents won't be there. And to me, that was science fiction. I was like 5 or like 6. And like, there were all, sometimes I wonder if certain things were our decisions, if something externally pushed us, you know, because we had to do this. We had to go somewhere. Okay, I had a whole back stories. Maybe I'll tell you off camera. But so I don't know what prompted me, but I had no fear. I had so much faith. I didn't know it was called faith. Now I'm sort of like lining up to understand all those things. I had so much faith and I knew I was doing the right thing, which is weird. I was 18. Like, who has that much delusion, you know? Maybe you do. I don't know. But so yeah, I can't explain it in a way that would make sense, you know? I just felt I had to do it. And the way I did it was insane. I went on my computer because I worked at 16. I wanted a computer. I didn't feel I could ask for it, right? Right when the computers came out, I made the weird noise to connect, you know?
You know.
I know. So I went on my computer and the websites would take like 10 minutes to load, right? Yeah. I found 5 universities, you know, so random, and I applied to all 5. I had this very, very basic application form online, nothing like now. It's kind of like a contact us form, right? And I said, all right, if they accept me, I'll go. And I got accepted in all 5, but I had said that I was going to go to the first one. If I had done a little bit more research or if the internet was a little bit more flooded with information, maybe I wouldn't have chosen Pueblo. But it all makes sense in hindsight because that's where I met someone that I ended up dating. He insisted that we actually move to Hawaii, where we ended up splitting up, but that's where I met my husband. I would have never gone to Hawaii if I wasn't for this person, right? And then I ended up meeting my husband, who's actually a co-founder as well. I have a beautiful daughter. So it's like every little thing sort of takes you where you need to be. I don't know. Life is interesting.
It is interesting. So you studied creative writing there in Colorado?
No, I actually transferred to Louisiana. It's a long story. I did 1 year in Colorado and then I went to Louisiana.
Big difference. Big cultural shift.
Another not weird, like different place. Lovely place. So I went there for the last 3 years and I studied creative writing. I focused on writing movies. I don't know what I was thinking. But it makes me a very good companion when you watch movies now because I know exactly what's going to happen because I know how they put things in the script. Or a very annoying companion.
I was just going to say, I'm not going to invite you ever for a movie night.
Don't. I mean, I stay pretty quiet. I actually don't talk. But if people have opinions, I correct them.
Hear your opinion.
Yeah, I can hear it, yeah.
So let's talk about the first job then.
Yes.
You finished your degree. What was the first job that you got into? And what was
It's a very wild one. Okay, so I finished university and we drove across the United States, put everything on a boat, and then we ended up in Hawaii, right? Hawaii, I was on the Big Island, and the Big Island is not where Honolulu is, where it's actually a very big city, cosmopolitan with everything. It was mostly, it's a very luxury island. It's where the rich and the famous go to get away. But also there's a very, very little cities here and there. Like the population, even though it's the size of Cyprus, the population is barely 100,000. And so you can imagine. So there's like 2 jobs there. So I ended up getting a job in hospitality, but it was not a traditional job. I was the sort of golden concierge for the rich and the famous. And it was such an experience because, again, I wasn't realizing the opportunity. I was like, oh, okay, I just wanted a job. I wanted to be able to buy coffee, you know. I remember the day I had 0 in my account. I was like, okay, I need to find a job. I don't know where to find a job. There's nothing here, you know. So working with these people, like straight out of college, I think it had an impact that I'm now understanding in my life, you know. So I was working for like very big hotel corporations, but I was not necessarily doing the normal things. My job was to experience everything there is to experience so I can tell people what to do and how to have the best time of their life. And as a result, I was having that best time of my life before I was telling them the information because I had to do it so I can tell them. So that was wild. Yeah.
What did that job teach you, though, about like power, the power dynamic, especially because you're working with people, you know, high stakes people, high power people, and as you were saying, celebrities. So I'm guessing people who had a lot of wealth.
Yes, because you don't go there unless you can spend like a lot of money. I don't know if it's about power, what I learned. But what I learned is more about people. So that's the thing. There's a line in everything I've done in my life, even though it looks disconnected, because then I went into medical sales for a while and then I did this and that before founding the company. But it always comes back to people. It had to do with people. So in that job in particular, which I did for almost 6 years, I remember the people, their energy, and because I had to connect with them and get to know them, and we shared a lot of sort of personal time together. They're so grateful, they're so happy and so generous and so just, they share stories about how they got to where they were, and it just makes you realize how everything is possible. So I think what I got out of it is a deeper understanding of the human nature, especially coming in contact with people that otherwise would have been a little bit more difficult or maybe impossible to spend so much quality time with. And it also taught me that people are people. It doesn't matter where we are. It doesn't matter how much money we have or not have. Everybody is going through the exact same journey. Might be at different parts, you know, but yeah, it's that it just allowed me to see that side of people as well, and be able to sort of understand that we are all the same. There's different ways we go about things, and that sort of like defines how successful or not, or however we define success we are. But yeah.
So you spent 6 years there in Hawaii.
Yeah. I left, 2 years on the big island, and then I said, okay, I want to keep doing this, but on the other island.
Yeah.
So I moved to Honolulu.
Okay.
And I spent there another 4 years.
And then you returned to Cyprus?
Yeah, well, after that, where I had met my now husband, 3 years after I went to Honolulu. But he was there only like for a while, and then he had to move back to Virginia. And I was I'm still so in love. I said, okay, I guess I'm going to leave Hawaii. So we went back to Virginia, close to the DC area. And I didn't like that at all. It was, I don't know if it's because it was such a swift change, Hawaii to Virginia. Like, you know, like sometimes the contrast, you know. So moving from Virginia to Cyprus was a very pleasant change, you know, like because I came back to more vibrant, like to me, you know, there's maybe people that love Virginia, but to me it was not, I didn't feel like my energy fit there very well.
Was there always a plan to return to the island?
I'm not going to say there was a plan either way, but I didn't, after 15 years over there, I was like, I think this is where I'm going to stay, you know, like I didn't plan things out that meticulously. You know, I was looking for experiences. I was looking to understand. I was looking to make sure I have no regrets. Yeah. You know, and just try, you know, not judge and try different jobs, different places. There wasn't a plan, no, but yeah, we came back and I'm glad we did. Yeah. I have my daughter here and she's growing up. I feel like this is a wonderful place to grow up. You know, I see that and yeah, I'm glad I did that. Yeah.
You entered you're now in like the educational sector.
Yes.
How did you end up in education? I mean,
yeah. Look, I didn't set out to do this. I never thought I would do that. I mean, I always wanted to create a change. I always wanted to question things. I was always sort of doing things outside of the lines, you know. But to go the route of founding a company with the intent to go global and to make so much impact, well, I've said this story before, but I'm going to say it a little differently. My daughter, when she was around 5 or 6, she got bullied. Now, it doesn't, bullying at that age is like a comment about your clothes or a little push or what. It wasn't serious in our eyes, right? But, and thank God I was paying attention, because so often we don't, and I don't either. I'm a victim of this as well, right? But I was paying attention, and I noticed that she started going from very social and happy to, I don't want to go to school. And I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to just say a little parenthesis. I started thinking, I was like, oh my God, these little moments shape us and shape the mechanisms that we use in life and how we view the world, right? Because we're hopefully in a loving home, you know, I hope most all kids are in a loving home. And then they go from that to school, where we use that environment as validation. Right? To validate, not consciously, but subconsciously, this is a safe world. This is a good place. Now, if we don't feel that, if we somehow we're met with different type of challenges or not acceptance, or people that, you know, challenge us in bad or good ways, at such a young age, if we're not able to process, understand, and develop a set of skills to navigate through it, it can really set us up for a lot of pain. Because we can start without understanding this, seeing the world as a place we have to defend ourselves from, not love and create and join, right? We can start sort of moving through the world, you know, with fear instead of, you know, love and connection. So these moments happen daily to all of us. As adults, we can dismiss things, we can pack them away, we have tools, we have experiences, right? But as kids, we don't. And if we don't talk, and let's say our parents are busy, if we don't say something, or if we don't even, if we think that it's our fault in some weird way, you know, it sets us up for a life of survival instead of thriving, you know? So what I did is, without understanding how this was going to unfold, I created a little system of stories, putting her in the story as the hero, because my husband is an illustrator. So we created books for her to teach her how to be courageous, how to talk, how to communicate, how to set boundaries, like all those things. And we would read them every night. And it was her in the book, so she would see herself as a protagonist, not like some random bunny or, you know, a giraffe. Makes a difference, actually. There's a lot of research in that. So when we saw her move away from that fear and eventually becoming friends with that girl, you know, and like moving on to be class president, she's mentoring other kids, she's a champion in dance, she's fine, right? Straight A student. Eventually I was like, I wonder if I can replicate this. And I wonder if we can build a system. And I wonder if we can put it in every class and give this opportunity to every child. And that's how it sort of like took off.
You moved into.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about that. You mentioned that one of the kids need the tools, need to be able to understand how to build these tools and to, you know, navigate through, you know, new life challenges. Yeah. Do you think kids these days don't get enough opportunities for going through these challenges?
No.
Do we not?
I don't. I do not. Okay. The world has changed so much, and I think what we're seeing, or we have seen in the last few years, is the sort of like diminishing of basic skills that perhaps our generations took for granted, right? The ability to even make a phone call and communicate without using emojis. the ability, not to feel entitled,
Yeah.
not to compare, because, of course, we do it as adults, social media, just the world has changed so much, right? And even though there is so much opportunity and a lot of goodwill out there and a lot of wonderful things, we do need, and thankfully now in education, they're putting, it's called social emotional learning or character education, life skills. There is a process, there is a method, and it's aligned with educational standards, and you place it into the school. Just like, imagine if you've never sat through a math class, trying to understand math on your own, just completely like buying random books from the library or listening to people explain it online without like a structure, I'll call it curriculum or process. It's difficult. It's not like there isn't information, but we need to be intentional about it. Here it is, put it in the school, introduce the kids to these tools, have them work through them. And by the time they're 10 or 11, they're so much more resilient and they can go into middle school and high school. And at the time, we don't have to mitigate critical issues, but allow them to continue building their life. Because if they don't have these tools, then that's when we are seeing spikes in all the social and emotional problems that we see in teenage years and beyond, cascading into workplaces and in every facet of the society. So I hope I'm not losing you or like I'm not.
So you founded Heroes Made when?
Well, it was conceptualized in 2019, right before COVID.
Yay.
So for 3 years, there was absolutely no ability to sort of raise capital or to move forward with the product. So coming right out of COVID, that's when we started building it in 22.
What gave you, I feel like I'm asking you the same question. What gave you this confidence to think that I can do this? Although you were building with your husband, what gave you this confidence to think I can do this as an entrepreneur when did you experience entrepreneurship before that?
No. And I had a lot to learn. Quite fast. I don't know if it was confidence. I think it's part of my belief system that didn't even allow me to question whether this is possible or not. So here, what I believe is that ultimately, every single one of us holds the responsibility for anything that life gives us, right? For example, I had this idea. Whose responsibility is it to make it happen? If I see I can make an impact, why should I wait for anyone else? Why should I wait for the government, for someone else in a different part of the world or my neighbor we're all people. We all have different ideas. And I feel, and this is going to sound a little bit woo-woo, but one of the biggest sins, if we're going to talk in those terms, that you can do is not believe in yourself because you have a spark of, you have a soul, You're here to create. That's ultimately our goal in life, our purpose in life, in whatever direction we want to use it. Create art, technology, families, governments. It's all a creation, right? So on an individual level, we are responsible. And it is our own idea. And if we don't do it, who's going to do it? So I just moved through that. I guess not knowing what I needed to know was very helpful, because if I had known all the stuff that I would have to figure out, maybe I would have frozen a little bit. I was like, how hard can it be? Let's do this. And then, once you're on the dance floor, you dance, as we say here, right? You gotta figure it out.
You gotta just learn the steps as they go.
Yeah. So it's a belief system. I don't think confidence, and that is very important. Confidence comes after the fact. You don't have it before. And people waiting to feel confident is the biggest trap. You gotta do and then feel the confidence and the certainty that you have, you arrived, So it's a belief. So we have to work on our belief system. What do we believe? And that is going to navigate us, I think. This was not conscious. I'm looking back, like your first question, looking back.
Yeah, looking back.
Now I understand. Yeah.
So tell me about climbing that mountain of entrepreneurship. What were the first few years like, post-COVID? Especially raising capital.
It's exciting because there isn't a single day that's the same. And the exciting thing about it, outside of what you're creating, it's the community and the people.
Yeah.
Founders and entrepreneurs, by default, are people that are visionaries and dreamers. And there's a different energy in that. They hold each other up. They help each other out. Competition is not like you would find in a normal work environment. Your challenges are not those. Your challenges are other challenges, you know? So that unity, that humanity that comes with this ecosystem, so inspiring, you know? And I enjoyed that part of it so much. I was so busy like meeting people and feeling inspired by them. And, they were 10 steps ahead. Okay, great. Well, can you tell me how you got there? So it's a lot of conversations, a lot of connections, a lot of experiments. There's no failure. Failure is only when you stop. So, yeah.
What was the ecosystem like then in Cyprus for entrepreneurs?
It was in its birth stages. Like there was nothing.
Yeah.
You know, there was, thank God there was Idea, the accelerator. That's where we took our first steps. And that was such a random situation for me. I saw a banner, it said, call us or something. And I never do that. You know, I was sitting at a restaurant. I was like, okay, I'll call. Don't ask me. It's very unplanned moments that have defined this journey. Very random meetings. Very people that I would have, never known in my life made all the difference.
Where was Heroes Made at that point when you made the call to Idea?
That was I went there not for Heroes Made. I went there with a different idea that eventually pivoted to Heroes Made.
Okay.
So it was just, the ecosystem was very, I don't know, because I don't know if I didn't know something back then, but it felt like it was just starting to be, we didn't have any investors. There was no grants in place or any type of infrastructure in the sense of, how can I say it, workshops or communities, or everything started picking up, I would say, maybe like 4 years ago. I started sort of like, you start seeing these clusters and these, events and these organizations and these initiatives from the universities as well. A lot of reporting around this community. But yeah, it was a kind of a lonely game. So you've met 5 people, those were your clan. You're like, okay, that's, with the 5 crazy ones, let's do something,
You mentioned failure.
Yeah.
I kind of want to pause there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about failure. Was there a moment of failure, I think, in your journey?
Well, it depends how you define it. How do you define failure?
Well, it's how you would define it. I want to put the question to you.
So for me, failure is not doing something or stopping halfway. So while I'm doing it, whatever hiccups in the process are lessons or milestones that you got to go through, or learnings, or, normal challenges that we all have. So I don't see failure like that. Again, maybe a little delusional. I never did. Maybe that helped a lot. Because if you define failure as a no, or as someone criticizing you, or as your first ad not working, or your first prototype crashing, if you define failure like that, it's very hard to continue. So what we believe, the belief system, what we believe and how we define words plays a very big role. And I think it's good to do that inventory once in a while. And I think I'm going to go do it again later. I sort of like write down again a bit of clarity on my belief system, do that self-check-in. I haven't done it in a while.
How would you then define success?
Success? That's hard to define.
Yeah.
I can define what failure is. Success seems like it's always, somewhere there and you're reaching for it, right?
Is it just one destination then?
No.
Do you think
For me,
it's singular?
success right now, like I feel the company is not where it needs to be yet. Like we're now just opening our doors. We're now just getting into schools, right? I feel incredibly successful because of what I've learned, the people that I've met, the friends that I've made, the people that I helped during the process, that I have the good luck to be able to help, you know. That's success on a personal and social level. And success for the company ultimately is reaching a certain number so you can exit, right? That is still hopefully not far away, but still there. But we're working towards that. So I feel incredibly successful up to this point. And there's a little bit more success to be had. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Now you are reaching schools and more, younger people are, I guess, engaging with the
we're just
platform.
starting to do that. Yeah.
What kind of responses are you seeing or hearing?
Okay, so as we're sort of onboarding our first schools now, the responses, because I'm not going to talk to the kids, there's all sorts of compliance issues there.
Yeah.
My communication is or our team's communication is generally with the administrative team, the principals, the teachers that come to see the product and make a decision. And I haven't heard anything negative. Actually, sometimes I take a step back and I'm like, it's insane we made this. It's a really good product. It's a wonderful platform. And this is not how it was conceptualized to begin with. I mean, it went through stages, And I'm like kind of at the first prototype, I'm like, oh my God, I thought that was great, But so far so good. The challenges for us is not in that realm. The challenge for us is to make it into a system. The education system is highly resistant to change. So the challenges we have in EdTech are entering the market, not staying in it. Once you're in, because the resistance to change keeps you there. So the challenge for us is not to keep the client, is to get the client, because they have limited time, not so much the resources. They have the resources, they have the budgets and all of that, especially now with AI sort of leveling out their academic aspect. Anybody can write a PhD in a day, right? Like a thesis, not a PhD. So now the schools are sort of turning their attention and they want these tools. There's not that many of us, but there were people in the game before I made it in, right? So we have superior product, I feel, in many ways, but they also have their long-term contracts already with the clients. So now it's sort of like a song and a dance, trying to find our way into the market, and that's a challenge we have right now. Yeah.
What is the edtech sector like? I've heard it usually gets the least funding from.
I don't know if it gets the least funding. That's very good. I never looked into that because I didn't care if it gets the least or not. I would do my best to get it, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think things are changing because now you have a lot of accelerators and even VCs that are edtech focused. That's their portfolios. So if there's already people that are segmenting themselves out and they're focusing on it, that means it's growing, right? I learned this recently and I was like, oh, I could have known that 4 years ago. It is the toughest industry to break into.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because of the resistance of the client, because it's hard to get them on the phone. It's hard to get them to... once you engage with them, it's easy. But can you imagine a principal is running a school, they have 10 minutes at their desk, the last thing they want to do is respond to your nice email when they don't know you.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? So it requires a lot of strategy, and I think we got it in place, and we'll just got to play it out and learn as we go, see what kind of mistakes. Hopefully we won't make a lot.
Did you start with Cyprus as a pilot, or did you go immediately abroad?
Okay, so while we were building the product, the pilot, not intended for them to purchase the product, but to allow us to test it, right? Happened in Cyprus, in private schools, elementary private schools. And that was very good. I mean, we took a lot out of that, so we're very grateful. For the actual, for the actual market now, we're going to the US. Europe, we're working with, even locally and with other places, but Europe functions differently. In Europe, you have the ministries, and it's a much different process, whereas in the United States, schools have autonomy, and even though they might get a lot of district tools, they also have discretionary funds, and they can add whatever they feel like is useful to their personnel and to their students. So it's much friendlier when it comes to technology. United States is already, every school is fully equipped. So yeah, that's where we're doing our first moves. But in parallel, we're working with local government bodies, going through the motions. But here it would be sort of like a very, I'd call it, there isn't much technology in our schools. So in order to achieve what we want to achieve, we've got to lay the groundwork as well.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm doing groundwork that already is done in the United States, So it's a lot.
It's a different approach as well.
Yeah.
What is it like working with your partner? You are building something together with your partner.
We'll have more, we have another co-founder. There's three of us.
It's nice to have somebody.
Yeah. It is interesting. I think we're he's the creative force in terms of because he does all the digital assets and the platform, the lessons, all of that when it comes to illustrations and how we present them to children. He's exceptionally talented in that. So I have I guess the one thing, because I'm a little bit of a control freak, I have so much trust in his abilities that it really allows me to focus on what I need to do versus having to worry or whether or not the other person is executing the way I want. So it's nice, Now, of course, we have moments where it's like, you should know how to do that. And he's like, how? I'm like, I don't know. You're in it the same way I am, you have your moments, but it's very good.
You are also raising your daughter, whilst both of you are working kind of on the same mission. How has it been like, navigating parenthood whilst also building up, another child in a way?
It hasn't been hard, actually. Well, again, it's how you define things. I get to, because we're remotely, we're at home. We get to sort of be there for our kid when she comes home from school, We get to have our, schedules. Even though I like to say I make my schedule, I don't. I usually work 14-hour days.
Oh, yeah.
But if I need to do something for her, I'm able to do it, And she gets to see us sort of work together. She's involved in some areas of it. If we, at the beginning, I would even ask her opinion. She's a child. She's my target audience, right? So she got involved a little bit at the beginning. So it's nice. She learned, I think, by osmosis, a few things, But she got the creative thing from her dad. She didn't get the business sort of thing yet from me. We'll see if that's something that she brings out later. But she's really on the creative side of things. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I want to pivot a little and then talk more personally about your values. What values do you kind of live by, and how do these, reflect in the work that you do?
Values. There's a lot of things. It's so interesting to sit down and have to have a conversation, because we think we know, and when we're asked, we're like, oh, what's the word? I think for me, my values, if I had to name two, it would be courage and gratitude. And both need work. They're not perfect, but for me, every single thing I had to do during this process required courage, because I'd never done it before, and everything I need to do to go to the next level requires courage. And the courage is more and more every time, not less and less, because you level up. It's a little bit more you got to push yourself. So courage and gratitude. I'm just in constant awe with people that put so much faith in me, like the investors. It's like, if we stop and think, like, oh, an investor. If we stop and think, these people, like, they didn't know you a year ago. They're putting money on you, telling you, go build this dream, make it happen. Like, I think it's a spectacular thing. And I think they need more credit. And the rest of the people that work in the community as well, just so grateful, because there's a lot of people that volunteer, that help each other, that I don't know. It's just I'm so grateful, So those two would be like something that I, and of course sometimes I forget, because I get frustrated with things. I'm like, okay, no, we're grateful because all these people believe in us. Let's keep pushing,
Of course, when you're living moment by moment or in the everyday, sometimes the bigger picture is not something you're constantly thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to ask you about any fears. Are there any fears that you feel like you're still kind of working through, whether that is in life or in entrepreneurship?
In entrepreneurship, no. Look, I remember saying this like a long time ago. I didn't think of, some of the things that I say, I just pop in my head, but make sense. So I'll say them. You can either live life in fear or in love. I don't think you can do both. I think they cannot coexist.
Yeah.
So where we place our attention, that tends to grow, right? So if you focus on anything that you're scared of, it's only going to get more scary. So I don't necessarily linger on that at all. But fear in a milder sense, not just uncertainty sometimes, but it becomes your daily routine. In a milder sense, fear for me is uncertainty.
Yeah.
And you just keep doing things until something hits a mark.
What kind of future are you building towards?
Well, the dream that we're well on our way to execute is to have this in front of as many kids as possible, and just start seeing the results, of the generation that actually has these, skills and these character, education benefits and social benefits. So that's what I'm focused on right now. So the rest of it, I haven't really paused. Again, going back to when I was younger, I don't really sort of like put like, oh, I want to end up, So the future would be, let's execute this correctly, make the most impact, help others on the way, give back, and maybe build more. That's the future, And when it comes to personal stuff, I want to go to Japan a little bit, maybe for a couple of weeks.
As a break or just?
As a break, as a reward. I already said, the minute I reach this many, schools, I'm going to take a week off and I'm just going to say thank you to myself and I'm just going to go to Japan. I don't know why. It's such a random thing because I've never been, but I'm drawn to it.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people are drawn to it these days.
Yeah.
There is something about the culture there that is different, but also familiar in different aspects.
There is something that speaks to us, to me at least, on a level that I don't find very often in the Western culture. Although I have no problem. It's just like it's different, and it's mystery about
there
it,
is.
And the ritualistic aspect of it too. Like how they treat food and all that
green
stuff.
tea. I love the preparation of
exactly. They
tea.
sort of like maintain certain things that help you pause and enjoy the moment. And I don't know if that's true. That's what I see on TV.
Yeah.
So I need to go there and see.
And I feel maybe we need to bring that more ritualistic elements into our life to pause more. I think especially when if we're talking about anything in terms of work, there's this push of, let's do more, let's build more, let's go faster.
Stop, have some tea. Or I have it before food or something. Yeah. Like, I make it a mandatory thing, I think that would help a lot of people do a lot better.
Yeah.
And I'm a victim of not doing that. I don't take breaks. I have a problem in that. I feel guilty when I stop. That's not something I think is healthy, and I need to work on that. Yeah.
Definitely. My last question to you is, for young people now, about to make some big decisions in life, whether it's, about to choose their education pathway or a career, or even those maybe thinking about building something on their own, what message would you like to share with them?
I don't know. I think there's a lot we can say, but advice sort of falls in an empty space, because I think people need to do their own thing and learn from their own experiences. But if anyone wants advice, I think it's self-doubt is everyone's. We all have it. Like there isn't a single, there isn't a single person on this earth. Some share it, some don't. So ignore it. Make a conscious decision that you're going to ignore that part and just execute, go forward. Even if you're not sure about certain things, change your path later. Don't stay in the waiting place, like Dr. Seuss says, the children's author. It's the most horrible place of all, to wait for something to happen. Just make it happen, Even if you don't know how, just, go for it and see, You'll learn something on the way.
Exactly. You may not like green eggs and ham.
Yes.
But you might as well try it.
Exactly. And you might like it. But that's it. Like, don't wait. Don't seek permission. Only you can give yourself permission. No one else. It doesn't matter how much your parents love you, your family, your spouse, your friends, or how much they don't. It doesn't matter, because you have to give yourself the permission for everything. And once you understand that, very powerful. And sometimes sometimes I remember it, sometimes I don't, but I try to sort of keep it on the front, like it's I who have to give myself permission to do this. Nobody's gonna. Why would anybody give me permission to do this? But yeah, that's my advice. Don't make a conscious decision not to allow doubt sip in your life, and then give yourself permission to try, to experiment, to create, see where it takes you.
Beautiful. Maria, thank you so much for sharing. I've been very inspired by your words and the stories you've shared and your mission. It's so encouraging to see, people like you who are building for a future for, the next generation to, be
it's up to us.
Exactly. Be
it's
the
up to all of us,
makers.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Of course. It's been a delight, absolute delight. So thank you for joining us for this conversation. If you'd like to hear more conversations with really inspiring women, please do join us and subscribe. Thank you.